are you today?
Very good, and you?
Good, good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Basically, the stage is yours. Welcome to the Security Summit, which will run 2020.
Okay, good, great. So I will just share my screen and start my presentation then. Okay, do you see my slides?
That is correct. Everything is live and active.
Okay, great. So first of all, I would like to thank you for the invite and say that it's a great pleasure and a great honor to talk today of the security benefits and added value of third-party evaluation when we talk about software development. So that's really a great pleasure to be here today. What I plan to discuss and share with you today is a couple of things. The first is some thoughts about the software development industry today, the challenges we are facing, and how I believe we should collectively put some effort in specific areas. The second point is I would like to use a concrete use case, the use case of Huawei, and explain the cybersecurity journey we have been through, and explain why we do believe that third parties are definitely fellow travelers of this journey. And I will eventually finish by a couple of initiatives that I think would be interesting to share with the audience, and I hope I'll be inspiring for part of the audience. Yeah, I just forgot a few words on me. I don't know if you introduced actually, so, but I'm working in Brussels in the cybersecurity center in Brussels in Huawei, and I'm working in the cybersecurity field for more than 15 years in different companies. Okay, so let's start now with the software development industry and the challenges I believe we are facing today when we develop lines of code and we develop a product, a software product. Today, if you're developing a product, there is a high probability that you're not developing your lines of code just for one unique customer, or at least not the same type of profile of customer. There is a high probability that the product you're developing is used in many different environments, many different contexts, which means at the end, many different security requirements and specification from customers. And that is the first challenge today for anyone who is developing software, is to manage this flexibility. And obviously, because we want to have the more standardized product to leverage the development processes, but in the meantime, we don't want to do any concession when it comes to cybersecurity. So we have to be flexible, but we can't be too flexible when it comes to cybersecurity. That is the first challenge. The second one is much more linked to the technology. Today, if you start to develop a product, whatever type of software product you're developing, you have to make technical choice as from the beginning. At least the language you will use. Are you going to develop in C, C++, C#? For application level, you have Java, PHP, .NET, well, you name it, basically. And the same for the SDLC, so the software development lifecycle models and processes you will use to ensure that your code is secure. You have very different flavors. Are you going for a V model, a waterfall model, or more agile, like Kanban, Scrum, and all these choices you're doing have to be done in combination with your own capabilities and what your people are able to do, are able to manage, just to take the best out of these processes and languages. But you could fairly say also that, yeah, you don't have to own everything, and you can just use external parties for some of your part of your code. That is true, but then we come to the third challenge, which for me is touching everybody, because I don't know any company nowadays who is producing every single line of code on its own. Obviously, everybody is using suppliers or taking benefit at least from open source components. And all the point here is, how are we today controlling what I call the Russian doll supply chain? So how are we making sure that the suppliers we're using have the proper security level or security maturity that we expect for our end product that we put on the market? And the final challenge is when you have done all of this, you have to make sure that your customer just understand easily the level of security that your product is proposing, which kind of tests you have been doing, which kind of evaluation, what were the assumption. And obviously it must be easy for a customer to make the difference between the product A from a company B and the product B from a company B when it comes to cybersecurity. And it is not always easy. So those are for me the major challenge that anyone is producing software today is facing. And now we'll come to what I think some key points, key focus point that we should collectively all together, not only the suppliers, but also regulators and customers just should focus on, I believe. The first is when I speak about cybersecurity journey or secure development journey, it's to unify the destination of this journey. I know I've said that we are all our customers are different and they have different risk appetites, but I still do believe that we would all benefit in the security development industry if we could just come to a point where we have a common horizontal layer, at least for the foundation, which is clear for everybody on what is secure development, what is the standard for secure development for the foundation. And in that sense, I think that the European Cybersecurity Act, which has been launched in Europe last year or 2 years ago, is a good initiative because it's just prevent fragmentation or scheme proliferation. It just tends to unify these different standards because you have really many standards when it comes to software development, ISO 27034, SDL, BSIM. So this is a good initiative, and we should promote this kind of initiative in the industry. The second point then is with the customers, and I said that the fact that it should be easy for customers to evaluate the security level of the software, which is not always easy today. And here I think that the suppliers we have, and we owe to a customer high transparency and openness. So it should be very, very transparent from the supplier perspective, which kind of tests and evaluation standards we are using, how we are evaluating when it comes to cybersecurity or source code. This kind of initiative should be promoted more and more. And the same for the supply chain. It should be easy for a customer to understand what is the supply chain for a software development company. When I'm going to a restaurant, I like to know if the chef has been actually preparing himself the dish, or he's been really cooking something, or he's just warming up already prepared dish by someone else. That's more or less the same idea when it comes to software development and customers who needs this transparency. Then question about innovation and what I call sustainable trust and sustainable security, because we are all cybersecurity professionals. We know that being secure is not being secure at a certain point of time, but it's really having security on the long run. And in this field, I do believe when it comes to software development that we have room for improvement and try to innovate on some aspects. The best example is the vulnerability management versus certification. Today, if I'm just certifying the product, what doesn't come with this certification when I apply an efficient vulnerability management process, and I have to change the line of code to actually apply the correct patch
think there is here there is kind of conflict between a certification and promoting vulnerability management. And here again, I think that we see some initiatives like the lightweight certification in some countries, like CSPN in France, the BSZ in Germany, and in Portugal. So trying to leverage lightweight certification for promoting vulnerability management, and I think that's the right direction we should all try to promote. And finally, the last thought on secure software industry, it's about balancing the efforts we put between product and process evaluation. Today, I think we put a strong effort in having a product certified. I think that all together, suppliers, customers, regulators, we should balance this effort with evaluation of the processes used to produce a product, because that's the processes of development which will at the end be kind of guarantee that the next version of the product or the next functionality, the next product will be secure enough. And sometimes I have the feeling that too much efforts are put on certification, which is very important, but forgetting a bit the process. And here I do believe that third parties have an essential role to play, because we all know that there is a high difference between buying an evaluation tool or showing a process on PowerPoint and actually using these processes properly or these tools properly. And here, third parties have definitely a key role to play in this field. So that's what I wanted to share on the industry, the secure software development industry. Now let's have a look at what Huawei we have been through and we have been implementing, and what are the lessons learned and experience we can share on secure software development. The first point is that secure software, it's just like broader cybersecurity. It's not only a field for technical and engineers. Cybersecurity and secure software development must be addressed on a much broader sense in a company. For instance, here it's how I'm going to train the people. I was speaking about being up to date to state-of-the-art SDLC model or different languages. So which kind of training I will propose to my people? How am I making sure that my suppliers or open source components are well managed? It's all about configuration management. Or what I'm putting in place for the integrity of my code when it's just leaving my software factory to my customers in production environment or in cloud environments. So all of this showed that secure development, it's just not should not be seen as just a developer issue, but a much broader aspect. And in this broader aspect, I do believe that third parties have a key role to play as from the early stage. They should not be the partner just for the end of the process, certifying a product just before launching on the market. Here on the slide, you see what we call our IPDs, or integrated product development of the product at Huawei. It's basically the R&D process. And you see that as from the early stages, with the definition of what we call the baseline, the initial requirement of cybersecurity, which comes on top of the rest, or the customer requirement, the respect of the legislation. We use third parties' input, like the NIST framework, the BSIM, which is a framework for making sure that the software engineering is integrating cybersecurity properly, the secure development lifecycle from Microsoft. So all of these are input and third parties input that we use, and those are already occasion to initiate dialogue with third parties to understand what should be done for secure development. And then all along the process, you see that third parties are playing an essential role. We are just analyzing the codes with static tool analysis, dynamic tool analysis. All these tools are also coming from third parties. And obviously we use many of these inputs until the end, where I said obviously the third parties have a key role to play when they certifying and they evaluate a product. So my point is, the first lesson learned: third parties should not be limited to the end stage of your development. But it's not because it's playing a role all along the process that the third parties have the same roles and responsibilities between them. We implemented at Huawei what we call many hands, many eyes philosophy or approach. Basically, the idea is the more people can see our product, evaluate, test the product before it's on the market, the better it is, and the higher is the insurance that the product is secure enough. So, but obviously, these different third parties are not playing the same role. We have the first layer, which is what we call the independent cybersecurity lab in Huawei. It's Huawei employee, but independent in a term that's not part of R&D. These guys are pen testers, and they are basically competing against the R&D to find vulnerabilities before the product is on the market. But obviously, you can imagine that the role and responsibility we expect from these people is different from the second layer, which is according to us, the customer. Because when we speak about cybersecurity, we see customers as third parties because they are evaluating a product either with us or completely independently in their premises, but the role and responsibilities is different, and obviously also different from the laboratory or the certification authorities, which are accredited by national authorities. So it's very, very important to define the role and responsibilities and see what you expect from your third parties and what they expect from us. Yeah, then I wanted to highlight again the fact that looking at the processes and the continuous improvement is very essential in software industry. It's something I've been highlighting for all along my career, and that's for me a key focus point which we should do again and again. What we've been putting in place at Huawei for ensuring this evaluation of processes is we use third parties to assess our different engineering teams according to a standard called BSIM, and actually we do it on a yearly basis, on a random basis regarding the engineering team which is evaluated. So that enables us to actually make sure that to monitor and making sure that our engineering people are better after each year on the security aspect. And as I said, the certification is obviously something important. It just has to be balanced with the process evaluation. But here, if we have lessons learned when it comes to certification, we really encourage people not perceiving certification just as consumer of this certification, but really open the dialogue with the different organizations, take part of these organizations which are defining the standards, help the community to raise the bar when it comes to certification. And with this constant dialogue, it's much easier to understand the philosophy behind the certifications, and that helps to put the right effort at the right place. So then, yeah, some couple of initiatives at Huawei I would like to share. The first thing is I would like to introduce what we have put in place. It's just a network of cybersecurity centers all over the world, and I think here what is important to have in mind, it's again this idea of transparency and openness that I would like to push on a global scale in the secure development industry. And that's why you see that in Brussels here in this orange square, this is a place where we enable the customer to come and look at the product, look at the source code of the product. And that is once again, I think something which we owe to our customers: more transparency, more openness, and anyone who is producing a line of code should actually think about how am I just increasing my transparency towards my customers. I'm not saying that what Huawei has been done should be done in all players on the market, but that's what we think for us was the best thing to do. So showing source code and showing this transparency, but the idea of how can I be more transparent to my customer? That is a key point which should be done by every supplier on the market. And the second and final example initiative I would like to share, it was about this idea of having a pen testing team inside a secure software development company. I know that not all the companies can actually afford to have pen testers actually working and competing against the R&D to make sure that the code is secure. But I think here the idea is, when we develop a software, we should actually benefit of this discussion or dialogue with the more attacking side. When you look at just network, you see more and more exercise between blue team, red team, and even now purple team, which is just the defense, just taking benefit of the insight from the attacking side. And I think, and that's one of the lessons learned of Huawei, that's this type of service of processes is very added value for making new creative way in the terms of defense and more secure software. So as key takeaways, what I wanted to share with you today is obviously you have seen that involvement of independent third parties is key when you develop software, and it should not be perceived as one single thing to be done at the end of the process, evaluating the product. It is important, but third-party involvement should start as from the beginning, and it can take multi forms. And that is very essential if we want to build trust to use these third parties, because we believe that trust requires facts. It has to be objective, not based on feelings, and these facts should be able to be verified and validated by independent parties, where obviously third parties are essential, and the recognized standards are also a living playing field to establish facts. And the final pledge, I would say, is that once again, the responsibility as a vendor, what we owe to a customer, is always more transparency and openness, and continue to contribute to cutting edge standards of software development industry. So thank you. That was my my talk.
Dear Mr. Klein, thank you for this insightful presentation. I sincerely hope that everyone enjoyed. We actually have 3 questions for you, and we have plenty of time to answer them in detail. Shall we proceed?
Yeah, sure.
You were mentioning major industry challenges and potential improvements to be made at the beginning of your presentation. One of them is increased transparency in the evolution methodologies. Why is that so important?
Well, indeed, I do believe that transparency is the foundation of trust, and trust is just necessary if we want sustainable collaboration. Like I said, we owe our customers more transparency, more clarity on how we are doing things. As security professionals, we know that security by obscurity has never been the right choice, actually, to raise the bar and raise the level. So I think that being more transparent will help just all the community to be more secure. And the second point is, I have the feeling sometimes that we are speaking about global supply chain, and it's not really concrete to many people.
So if we improve and increase our transparency, I think it will help to understand the link between the different suppliers to our customers, and really making this globalization more concrete, and so customer can understand the challenge of globalization and the interaction between the different suppliers.
Understood, understood. Shall we proceed to the second question?
Yeah.
Coming back to Huawei's journey, you mentioned your multi-hands, multi-eyes approach. How do you concretely leverage feedback provided by third parties?
Well, first of all, the feedback is essential. I do believe it's really essential for a fruitful collaboration. So it's very important to leverage this feedback. It's nourishing our continuous improvement process. So it's very important, and that's why actually we have been putting in place this network of cybersecurity centers that I've been presenting. So it's a concrete and practical way to collect the input from different stakeholders. It could be obviously the customers, but also the academics. It can be the security professionals. So thanks to this feedback, we can actually improve of way of securing the product. And I think then, if I have a second point to say on how to actually leverage this feedback, it's important to have a bottom-up and a top-down approach within the company. It's very, very important to have the focus of the highest management level, so they can actually put the effort and resource to have the right governance model, and making sure that feedback is just few words coming from the customer that I forget, but it's really taken into consideration through a proper governance, which has real effect on the engineering department.
Thank you for these inputs. And finally, regarding evaluating the source code in Brussels, I can imagine that during COVID time, it's more complex to evaluate the code. Am I right on this point?
Yeah. I think that everybody COVID period is changing many things. Let's say that just beyond COVID, what we have seen with Huawei the past couple of years is we are under continuous stress when it comes to cybersecurity. We are tested, evaluated. So I think that's maintaining business and having a strong business continuity plan is kind of regular business for us. So the good thing is, even during COVID period, we managed to make our premises flexible. So it's still possible to come, obviously, depending on the legislation of the country, which can change. And if there is a proper lockdown, we just can't welcome people. But as soon as the lockdown is over, we have been taking proper measures to welcome people to evaluate the source code, and we have been actually receiving lately some external auditors who have seen the code and evaluate the code. So that is possible. And if people are just wanting to discuss the general approach of cybersecurity or seeing our centers, we now organize and change a bit. So we can do virtual tours with different cameras. So we change a bit the experience. But like I said, business continuity management is kind of part of the DNA of the company. Survival is part of the DNA.
Understood. Dear audience, today with us was Mr. Klein from Huawei with a position of cybersecurity expert. Mr. Klein, thank you very much for this presentation and answers to these crucial 3 questions that we asked.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much.